welcome to Read, Rant, and Review, Lazy Ass Edition. Yeah, that's right. I am really busy today and I'm gonna go paint a wall pretty soon, so I didn't put any makeup on. I don't get time for that. I'm wearing a paint shirt and my hair is doing whatever the heck my hair is doing. I don't even know. But I wanted to get these reviews out for you today so that I can have them out of the way and I don't have to worry about them anymore. Because my week is going to be super busy. So I have a double header for you today of books that are kind of empowering for women. That's what I read. I need to read some boy books just to stop getting an all-girl audience, I guess. But these books, this is another one of those crazy random happenstances where I just happened to find both of these books at the same time and read them back to back. And they both happen to have very similar themes about strong, independent woman, that kind of thing. So, the books are The Enclave and Graceling. Okay, since I read these books a while ago and they've already gone back to the library, I'm going to have to use my trusty laptop to help me read the back. Because I can't do it, because I don't have them. Alright, so first, The Enclave, which is the first in a series called Razorland. New York City has been decimated by war and plague, and most of civilization has migrated to underground enclaves, where life expectancy is no more than the early 20s. When Deuce turns 15, she takes on her role as Huntress, and is paired with Fade, a teenage hunter who lived topside as a young boy. When she and Fade discover that the neighboring enclave has been decimated by the tunnel monsters, or freaks, which seem to be growing more organized, the elders refuse to listen to warnings. Then Deuce and Fade are exiled from the enclave. The girl born in darkness must survive in the daylight, in the ruins of the city whose population has dwindled to a few dangerous gangs. As the two are guided by Fade's long-ago memories, they face dangers and feelings unlike any they have ever known. Okay, so we'll just start with a review of this one right away. It is a post-apocalypse story, because they're a thing that I like, and it has zombies in it. They don't call them zombies, but at the same time, the book is like, yeah, they're zombies. They're zombies. I appreciate that in a book. It's not trying to be like, ooh, my zombies are so original, look how different they are. It's like, yeah, they're zombies. They're here to eat you. What? But it's not really a zombie book. It kind of is, but it's not really. The zombies aren't the main danger, not the main focus. I mean, they are, but they're not. Anyway. This book, sort of an enjoyment level, falls halfway between Divergent and The Hunger Games. Not as good as The Hunger Games, not as piss poor as Divergent. So it falls safely in the middle into sort of enjoyable territory. It's definitely what I would call a popcorn book. You want to sit down and you want to read this as you're like munching on popcorn or something. It's definitely light. It's definitely not here to make you have strong emotions or teach you really important lessons. This is a book that is about enjoyment. And if you're just looking for a book that you don't have to get super invested in and don't have to get super attached to, you just want something to read for fun, I would recommend this one. Our main character is a strong, independent woman with a really stupid name. I'm sorry, her name is so stupid. It's Deuce, meaning the card. She is a member of a culture that lives underground, and everybody in this culture has their specific place. Once again, it's post-apocalyptic, so everybody has to be sorted into a category of some sort. I don't know why this is a thing, but it is in post-apocalyptic stories. However, it falls into the range of it makes more sense, like in Hunger Games, versus it makes no sense, like in Divergent. Still, there are problems with it, because there are different classes in society. There's the hunter class, which obviously they go out into the tunnels, they find food, they make trades, they do everything that has to do out of the colony. Then there are the breeders, who their job is to produce more offspring, since everybody only lives to be about 20. And they age physically too. At 20, they physically sort of age like an old person as well. And we don't find out why in this book. I'm sure we'll find out why in later books. It is a little disconcerting. You kind of wish that they told you in the first book. But they are in charge of making the babies. And so that's what they do. And hunters are not allowed to breed unless it's a very special circumstance. And then there are, I forget what they're called, craftsmen or something like that, and they are in charge of building, constructing, inventing, all that jazz. They're also not allowed to breed unless it's very certain circumstances. And that's where it doesn't make a lot of sense, the breeding thing. It's like you would think you would want to breed your strong warriors to make more strong warriors, not just breed to these, because the breeders are chosen kind of for their attractiveness. And I mean, yeah, it's a society run by teenagers, so they're gonna value that, but at the same time, wouldn't you see that you would want to breed your hunters to get strong hunters and your craftsmen to get better, smarter craftsmen, instead of breeding those out of your gene pool by just breeding for handsome and attractiveness? That doesn't make a lot of sense, but you know what? This is more of a nitpick. It doesn't bother me too much. There is an initiation thingy where she becomes a huntress, but in this book it is mercifully short. I was so happy. I'm like, oh no, there's an initiation, but it just kind of happens and it's over and it's like, oh, good. Freaking long initiations are annoying. And it doesn't build up for like half the book to this initiation either. It's like, I'm getting initiated today. Oh, that's it for that situation. The characters are reasonably interesting. They kept my interest. I was cool with like following them. There was no character where I was like, oh my gosh, we have to read about this person now. There was a lot of the cliche though that you always see in these books where the people in authority are wrong, only our young heroes should be trusted. That always annoys me. It's like, okay, I get it that we're teenagers and we're breaking away from authority, but do all adult authority figures have to be wrong or tricking you or manipulating you in some way? I don't understand why that is. There are some okay plot twists in this book. I liked most of the plot twists that they throw at you. Nothing huge, but they are kind of predictable, but fun. There is a lot of action. Again, if you were looking for your popcorn, like, summer movie book, this is the one for you. There is a love triangle in it, and I was annoyed as soon as it happened. I was like, for crying out loud, I can see this love triangle coming from a mile away. And as usual, I like the guy that I don't think she's supposed to end up with. I'm also getting really sick of in these young adult books, and I understand that it is because these books are about teenagers, and teenagers are often this way, but it's still annoying me. I'm getting really sick of the innocent, the super innocent girl who has not even thought about romance in her life, doesn't know how that works, is completely baffled by these feelings of attraction for a boy, doesn't know how sex works. It puts the boy often in the position of the teacher about sex and about sexuality, and I don't like that because, like, it tells girls that they are going to have to rely on a man to teach them how to be sexual, and that it shouldn't be that way. What I'm saying is that girls should be learning about this stuff not only from boys. They should learn about it from their parents. They should learn about it from teachers who are, qualified to teach them about that. And your sexuality and what you learn about it should not come from your partner. And I'm getting really sick of the whole trope of the super innocent girl who never even thought about relationships until she met a really handsome boy, and then he kind of coaxes her into and teaches her about her sexuality. So annoying. Also in the book we're told that the main character girl is a badass, and she kind of is, and she does kick a lot of butt, and she works well in a team with her partner, which is always cool to see, but she gets injured a lot. Like a lot more than her partner. For such a badass, she kind of gets her ass kicked sometimes, and I'm like, I think she could have handled that situation. I would have liked to have seen her handle it. Be like, yeah! I feel like this is the type of book where your main character just kind of has to kick ass. She has a random psychic episode near the end of the book that I didn't understand why that happened. I'm not going to tell you too much about it, but it was really random. There's also the cliche about the weapons that women can use. If you've watched my Clichés I Hate video, you know about this. Often in this type of story, women are only allowed to use bows and arrows or daggers. In this case, it's daggers. And while she does have a club, she uses it, I believe, once. And that's it. Like, that's it for her ranged weapons is a club. And then she's just got daggers. And I understand that in a small space of a tunnel, you probably want a short weapon. But it still frustrated me that, like, yeah, this is what she gets to use. Again. Because women, we can't handle swords of any size, no shields. So, basically what I'm saying to you is if you're looking for a good shoot 'em up, stab 'em up type story that's just unabashedly just about what it is and not trying to be anything greater, definitely check out Enclave. I think I'm interested in reading more of them simply because it was fun. It was enjoyable. It wasn't trying to take itself too seriously. And now, let's look at Graceling. Katza has been able to kill a man with her bare hands since she was 8. She is a Graceling, one of the rare people in her land born with extreme skill. As a niece of the king, she should be able to live a life of privilege, but graced as she is with killing, she is forced to work as the king's thug. When she meets Prince Po, graced with combat skills, Katza has no hint of how her life is about to change. She never expects to become Po's friend. She never expects to learn a new truth about her own grace, or about the terrible secret that lies hidden far away. So, again, this book is about a strong, independent woman, and it's a little bit less popcorny than the last one, but it still kind of is what it is. So it tries to delve into deeper themes a little bit more, but we'll talk about that. I do like that in this story there are people with Gracelings and they have superpowers. This is like medieval times meets superheroes. And certain people have superpowers than the Gracelings, and she has one that is really unusual for a female character you would normally think to have. Like, normally if you've got a female character who's got a superpower, it's going to be something like the ability to talk to animals or read minds or control things with her mind. You don't often see a female character whose superpower is just kicking your ass. Like just physically walk up and kick anyone's ass. She kind of reminds me of Buffy. She kind of has Slayer powers. The names in this book annoyed me a lot. I'm picky about names for characters. Her name is Katza, and some of you may know how I feel about names that can be shortened to Cat, and later the romantic interest calls her Wildcat, and it made me cringe so hard. Also some of the other names, like there's a king named Figpen. It's like almost Pigpen. So Pigpen from Charlie Brown is in charge of one of your kingdoms. Good. It's just, some of these names are just really dumb. I'm sorry, they are. We have another female character who, while she is a badass, is kind of clueless about love. She's not as bad as Deuce. She's a little bit still annoying that way, but she's not as bad. She does understand that about sex and sexuality a little bit. However, she's never been in love. She's never really felt those woobie feelings. So it's kind of a toss-up, but she is a little bit more worldly and a lot more aware about that kind of thing than most of our female main characters in these books. I would call this book sort of high fantasy light, because it has some elements of high fantasy, but it's really sort of tame with them. Some of those elements being politics. I don't really like to read a lot of the high fantasy stories, you know, like Tolkien and stuff. I've read The Hobbit many times, but I got bored with The Lord of the Rings. But a lot of those really big, you know, epic series have a lot to do with politics, and it's boring as shit to me. I don't like it. And this one has some politics and some kingdoms to remember, which I couldn't be arsed to remember. I'm like, I don't care which kingdoms don't get along. I do not care. But if you kind of like the politics but don't want to get into the really heavy politics of some of the fantasy books, this one might be kind of good for you, because it is really high fantasy light. We've got a small child not behaving like a small child cliche in this book, though, and that kind of annoyed me. They encounter a little girl later on whom they have to help, and she behaves like more of an adult than the two older people who are with her. And that kind of bothered me. I'm like, just let the kid act like a kid. I know we're trying to get across that she's super strong and super mature, but she never acted like a kid, and that annoyed me a lot. It is really refreshing that we have a main character in this story who is neither interested in getting married nor producing babies. In fact, she is vehemently opposed to both of these things. And that's really cool. I mean, most of the time in stories, let's be honest, the main female character is so innocent that, like, getting married hasn't really crossed her mind. But they do want to be in love. she doesn't even necessarily want to be in love. That is not a goal for her. It sort of happens, but it's not a goal for her, and she definitely doesn't want to get married, and she makes that very clear to her partners, that I am not going to marry you, and I am not going to make you babies. Sorry, those things are off the table. And I thought that was really cool to have a female character who was that sure about what she wanted from her life. The male character love interest is okay. He's enjoyable. He's not, you know, your typical broody. He gets a little broody at the end. But he's not your typical broody, I have soul pain, you know, sparkly vampire type guy, so that was nice. He's nice. However, he is also kind of forgettable. The villain, however, is excellent. Read this book for the villain alone. He doesn't even come into it much, but his influence is felt throughout. And I loved him. He was just so, he was so evil. This book did feel like it was a sequel, even though it's the first book in the series, though. It felt like some of the characters and relationships at the beginning were not adequately explained. It sort of felt like you were supposed to know. And I didn't. And I was a little bit confused if I had missed an earlier book. Because you know, you're just thrown into her life and into her situation, and I don't feel like a lot of the characters are adequately introduced. But that's just kind of a nitpick. So yeah, Graceling and the Enclave. Put them on your summer reading list if you're looking for something that's just kind of fun, bubbly, and slightly empowering if you are a girl. If you like a lot of action, if you like a lot of sword fighting, and a book that's not going to take itself too seriously, check out either of these books. They are parts of series. I will probably continue to read the Enclave series, but I don't know if I would continue to read Graceling. I felt like it was fine where it ended, and I don't need to know more. But now I'm going to go paint a wall, and I'll see you all again for my next review, or Shakespeare Explained. Peace.